My name is Emily Carter, and the night my sister told me I had exactly 24 hours to leave my own mother's house, I didn't argue, not because I agreed with her, but because I knew something she didn't. And by the time she realized her mistake, it was already too late. If you think family always protects you, then you've clearly never had a sister like mine. Let me take you back to the moment everything changed. It was a rainy Tuesday evening when my phone buzzed. I was still at work, trying to finish a late shift, when I saw my sister Vanessa's name flashing on the screen. That alone was strange. Vanessa never called unless she needed something, or wanted to start drama. I almost ignored it. But something in my gut told me to pick up. Hello. Her voice came through sharp, cold, and already irritated. Where are you? I frowned. Work. Why? You need to come home. There was no explanation. No emotion. Just authority. I hesitated. Vanessa, I'm still working. Can it wait? No, she snapped. Can't. Get here. We need to talk. And just like that she hung up. No goodbye. No context. Just tension. I stared at my phone for a few seconds, feeling that uneasy knot forming in my stomach. Vanessa had always been dramatic, but this felt different. This felt serious. I wrapped up my shift early and drove home through the pouring rain, my mind racing with possibilities. Was Mom okay? Did something happen? By the time I pulled into the driveway, the house looked wrong. Too quiet. Too still. The lights were on, but there was no warmth. No feeling of home. I stepped inside, shaking off the rain, and immediately felt it, the tension in the air. Suffocating. Vanessa was sitting in the living room, legs crossed like she owned the place, which apparently she now thought she did. And next to her, a man in a suit. That's when my heart dropped. Emily, Vanessa said, her lips curling into a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. Glad you could finally make it. I looked between her and the man. What is this? She leaned back, completely relaxed. Too relaxed. This, she said, gesturing to the man, is Mr. Collins. M's lawyer. The words hit me like a punch to the chest. Lawyer? Why would Mom need a lawyer here? Where's Mom? I asked, my voice suddenly unsteady. Vanessa's expression didn't change. Not even a little. She's gone. Silence. Complete, deafening silence. For a second I thought I misheard her. Do you mean gone? I whispered. Vanessa sighed dramatically, as if I was the one being difficult. Emily, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Mom passed away this morning. The room started spinning. No, I shook my head. No, that's not possible. I talked to her yesterday, she was fine. Well, she's not now, Vanessa cut me off coldly. So you need to deal with it. That's when it hit me. Not just the grief, but the way she said it. There was no sadness in her voice. No tears. Nothing. Just impatience. And that's when I knew something wasn't right. I turned to the lawyer. Is this true? Mr. Collins nodded solemnly. I'm very sorry for your loss, Emily. My knees felt weak, and I grabbed the back of a chair to steady myself. Mom gone. Just like that. Without even saying goodbye. Tears blurred my vision, but I forced myself to stay standing. I wasn't going to break down in front of Vanessa. Not like this. Not while she looked so calm. Come. Vanessa clapped her hands once, breaking the silence. Alright, now that we've got that out of the way, let's move on to the important part. I slowly looked up at her, disbelief mixing with anger. Important part. I repeated. She smiled. And that smile, it wasn't grief. It was victory. The house, she said simply. A chill ran down my spine. What about it? Vanessa stood up, smoothing her dress like she was preparing for a performance. Mom left everything to me, she said. The house, the savings, all of it. My heart dropped again. That didn't make sense. Mom would never do that. Never. That's not true, I said immediately. Mom wouldn't just cut me out. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Well, clearly she did. She turned to the lawyer. Show her. Mr. Collins hesitated for a moment before opening his briefcase and pulling out a document. A copy of your mother's will, he said. My hands trembled as I took it. I scanned the page quickly. Then again. Slower this time. And that's when I saw it. Vanessa wasn't lying. At least, not completely. My chest tightened as the words sank in. Everything was listed under her name. The house, the accounts, everything. I looked up at her, my voice barely above a whisper. You're serious? Oh, I'm very serious, Vanessa said, stepping closer. Then her expression hardened. So here's how this is going to work, she continued. You have 24 hours to pack your things and leave. Froze. What? You heard me, she said coldly. This is my house now. And I don't want you here. The rain outside grew louder, almost like it was echoing the storm building inside me. 24 hours. She was giving me 24 hours to leave the only home I had left. After Mom just died. After everything. I should have argued. I should have fought back. But instead, I folded the will carefully, handed it back to the lawyer, and nodded. Okay, I said quietly. Vanessa blinked, clearly not expecting that. Wait, that's it. She asked. I met her eyes for the first time since I walked in. And for the first time, smiled. Yeah, I said. That's it. Because what she didn't know, what she didn't bother to read, was the one page missing from that will. And in 24 hours, everything she thought she owned was about to disappear. Vanessa wasn't just being cruel. She was being careless. And careless people make mistakes. Big ones. The kind that destroy everything. I didn't say another word after that. I just turned around and walked upstairs, leaving Vanessa standing there, confused by how easily I agreed. But inside my mind was racing. Because something about that will didn't feel right. Not just emotionally, but legally. Mom was many things. Kind, stubborn, protective. But careless was never one of them. She would never leave things this incomplete. I entered my room and closed the door slowly, leaning against it as I tried to breathe. This room had been mine for years. Every corner held a memory. Late night talks with Mom. Quiet mornings with coffee. The safe space I always came back to. And now, I had 24 hours before I was supposed to lose it all. I laughed softly under my breath. 24 hours. I repeated. Vanessa really thought this was that simple. But she forgot one thing. Mom trusted me. Not just emotionally. Legally. I moved quickly, pulling out the small wooden box from under my bed. It was old, slightly scratched, but locked. Inside it were things Mom had given me over the years. Important things. Private things. Things Vanessa didn't even know existed. My hands trembled slightly as I unlocked it. Inside were documents, letters. And one envelope that immediately caught my attention. It was sealed. And on the front, in Mom's handwriting, were 3 words. For Emily only. My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't seen this before. Or maybe I wasn't supposed to see it until now. I sat on the edge of my bed and slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. And another folded document. I unfolded the letter first. Emily, if you're reading this, then it means Vanessa has already tried to take control of everything. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I wish I could have handled this differently. But I knew this day might come. My throat tightened as I read her words. She knew. Mom knew this would happen. Your sister has always been impatient. And when it comes to money, she doesn't think clearly. That's why I had to make arrangements. I quickly grabbed the second document and unfolded it. And the moment I saw the title, everything clicked. It wasn't just a will. It was an amendment, a legal addendum. And Vanessa had no idea it existed. I scanned through the page, my eyes widening with every line. A house, the accounts, everything Vanessa thought she owned, came with conditions, strict ones, and the most important one. If those conditions weren't met, everything would be transferred. Me. I let out a slow breath, leaning back as the reality sank in. This is why. I whispered. This is why Mom didn't tell Vanessa. Because she knew exactly how she would act. And right now, Vanessa was walking straight into the trap. A knock on my door pulled me back to reality. Emily. Vanessa's voice called out. Don't take it all night. You've got packing to do. I smirked slightly, folding the documents and placing them back in the envelope. Yeah, I replied calmly. No. Her footsteps faded away. And that's when I stood up, my entire mindset shifting. I wasn't the girl being kicked out anymore. I was the one holding the power. Vanessa just didn't know it yet. That night I didn't pack. Not really. I moved slowly, carefully. Pretending. Because this wasn't about rushing. This was about timing. Mom had set everything up perfectly. All I had to do was let Vanessa make one more mistake. Downstairs I could hear her on the phone. Laughing. Celebrating. Probably telling people how she finally got everything. I walked halfway down the stairs, just enough to hear her clearly. Yeah, it's all mine now, she said proudly. House, money, everything. Emily's out by tomorrow. I shook my head slightly. She didn't even question it. Didn't double-check. Didn't read the fine print. Big mistake. I went back upstairs, closing my door quietly. Then I pulled out my phone. There was one person I needed to call. One person who would confirm everything. Mr. Collins. The phone rang twice before he picked up. Hello. Hi, I said calmly. It's Emily. There was a brief pause. Emily. I wasn't expecting your call. I just have one question, I said, my voice steady. Another pause. Then he sighed. You found it, didn't you? A small smile formed on my lips. Yeah, I said. I did. Silence. Heavy silence. Then finally. Then you already know, he said quietly. I walked over to the window, looking out at the rain still falling outside. Yeah, I replied. I know everything. And in that moment, the countdown wasn't for me anymore. It was for Vanessa. Because in less than 24 hours, she wouldn't just lose the house. She'd lose everything she thought she had won. By the time my sister realized she wasn't the real owner of the house, it was already too late to fix her mistake. Because once the truth came out, there was no going back. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. Not because I was stressed, but because I was planning. Every move, every word, every reaction. Vanessa thought she had already won. And that was exactly why she was about to lose. Morning came faster than expected. The rain had stopped, but the air still felt heavy. Like something big was about to happen. I walked downstairs quietly, already dressed, already prepared. Vanessa was in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone, sipping coffee like nothing had changed. Like Mom hadn't died just hours ago. Like she hadn't just thrown her own sister out. She didn't even look up when I entered. You're still here, she said casually. Clock's ticking, Emily. I leaned against the doorway, calm. I know, I replied. That's why I'm not in a rush. That got her attention. She looked up, narrowing her eyes slightly. What's that supposed to mean? Shrugged. Nothing. Just enjoying my last few hours in your house. There was a slight pause. Something in my tone must have felt off to her. But she brushed it away. Good, she said. You should. Because once you leave, you're not coming back. I smiled faintly. We'll see about that. At exactly 10 a.m. the doorbell rang. Right on time. Vanessa frowned. Are you expecting someone? I didn't answer. Instead I walked past her and opened the door. And there he was. Mr. Collins. Dressed sharp. Professional. But this time, he wasn't here for Vanessa. Good morning, Emily, he said politely. Good morning, I replied. Behind me, I heard Vanessa stand up quickly. What is he doing here? She demanded. I stepped aside, letting Mr. Collins walk in. I invited him, I said simply. Vanessa's expression hardened. Why? I turned to face her fully. 'Cause, I said, my voice steady, I think you missed something yesterday. Silence filled the room. Mr. Collins placed his briefcase on the table and opened it slowly. Vanessa crossed her arms. I didn't miss anything. You saw the will. Everything is mine. I almost laughed. Almost. Yeah, I said. That's what you think. Mr. Collins pulled out a document. The same one I found last night. The amendment. The piece Vanessa never saw. What is that? She asked sharply. This, Mr. Collins said, is a legal addendum to your mother's will. Vanessa frowned. Oh, that's not possible. I saw the will. You saw part of it, I corrected calmly. Her eyes snapped to mine. What did you just say? I stepped forward, placing the document on the table in front of her. You didn't read the full will. For the first time since all of this started. Vanessa looked unsure. She grabbed the document quickly, scanning the page. At first, her expression didn't change. Then slowly, very slowly, her face started to shift. Confusion. Then disbelief. Then I panic. No, this doesn't make sense, she muttered. This isn't real. It's very real, Mr. Collins said firmly. Your mother added specific conditions to the inheritance. Vanessa shook her head, flipping through the pages faster. What conditions? I took a deep breath. This was it. The moment everything flipped. If you wanted to keep the house, I said calmly, you had to allow me to live here. No eviction. No pressure. No manipulation. Vanessa froze. And not just that, I continued. You were required to share financial assets equally. Her hands started shaking. That's not. And I added, cutting her off if you failed to follow those conditions. Pause. Letting the silence stretch. Letting it hit her. Everything transfers to me. The room went completely still. Vanessa stared at me. Then at the paper. Then back at me. No, she whispered. No, that's not how this works. Mr. Collins closed his briefcase calmly. It is exactly how this works. She stepped back, shaking her head. You're lying. Both of you. This is fake. I didn't move. Didn't react. Because this part. I expected. You gave her 24 hours to leave, I said quietly. Her breathing got heavier. You made your decision. I take that back. She snapped suddenly. Fine, she can stay. I didn't mean it. But it was too late. And deep down, she knew it. Mr. Collins looked at her. His expression now completely serious. I'm afraid it doesn't work like that. The condition was broken the moment you issued the eviction. That's when it finally hit her. Fully. Her entire body went still. Her face pale. Eyes wide. No, she whispered. And for the first time, Vanessa wasn't in control anymore. I stepped closer. Not angry. Not emotional. You should have read the full will, I said softly. You panic. And panic makes people do dangerous things. Vanessa stood there, frozen, her fingers still gripping the paper like it might somehow change if she held it tighter. This is ridiculous, she said, her voice shaking now. You can't just take everything because of one sentence. I tilted my head slightly. It wasn't just a sentence. It was Mom's condition. That's not fair. He snapped. Fair. The word almost made me laugh. You kicked me out of the house the same day Mom died, I said calmly. And now you're talking about fair. Her eyes flashed with anger, but this time, it wasn't confident anger. It was desperate. You tricked me, she said, pointing at me. You knew about this. I didn't deny it. I suspected, I replied. But you made it easy. She looked at Mr. Collins. There has to be something we can do. Loophole. Anything. Mr. Collins didn't even hesitate. There isn't. That one sentence broke her. Completely. She dropped into the chair behind her, running her hands through her hair. This can't be happening, she whispered. But it was. And for the first time in her life, Vanessa was facing consequences. I watched her quietly. No satisfaction. No victory smile. Just stillness. Because this wasn't just about the house. This was about years of being treated like I didn't matter. Years of Vanessa taking control, making decisions, acting like everything belonged to her. And now, reality finally caught up. I'll fight this, she said suddenly, looking up again. I'll take this to court. You can try, I said calmly. Her eyes narrowed. Don't act like you've already won. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I walked over to the table and placed something in front of her. A letter. What's this? She asked. Read it. She hesitated for a second, then opened it. As her eyes moved across the page, her expression changed again. But this time, it wasn't anger. It was something deeper, something uncomfortable. She wrote this. Vanessa whispered. Yes, I said. Vanessa swallowed hard, her voice quieter now as she continued reading. And then, she stopped, right in the middle of the letter. Her hands went still. What does this mean? She asked slowly. Took a breath. 'Cause this was the part she never expected. It means, I said carefully, Mom knew exactly how you would act. Vanessa looked up at me, confusion mixing with something else. Guilt. She wrote that I'd tried to take everything. She asked. I nodded slightly. She wrote that you've always been impatient, and that money changes how you think. Vanessa's face tightened. No, she wouldn't say that about me. I didn't argue. I didn't need to. Because the proof was right there in her hands. You think this is all about the house? I said quietly. She didn't answer. It's not, I continued. Mom wasn't trying to punish you. Then what was she doing? Vanessa asked almost defensively. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I said the one thing that changed everything. She was testing you. Silence. Vanessa blinked. Testing me, for what? I stepped closer, my voice softer now. For whether you actually cared about family. Or just money. Her breathing slowed. Her grip on the paper loosened. And you failed, I said gently. That hit harder than anything else. Harder than losing the house. Harder than the legal truth. 'Cause deep down, she knew it was true. I didn't, she started, but the words didn't come out. For the first time. Vanessa didn't have an argument. Didn't have an excuse. I just thought, she whispered, her voice breaking slightly. But she couldn't even finish the sentence. And in that moment, I didn't see the controlling, selfish sister anymore. I saw someone who had just realized they lost something far more important than money. But the story wasn't over. Not even close. Because Vanessa wasn't the only one hiding something. I walked back to the table, picking up the rest of the documents. There's one more thing, I said. Vanessa looked up slowly. What now? I met her eyes. Seriously. Mom didn't just leave conditions, I said. She left a secret. I said Mom left a secret. I saw something shift in Vanessa's eyes. Not anger this time. Fear. Real fear. Because deep down she knew. Secrets don't exist without reason. Vanessa slowly stood up again, but this time her movements were different. Slower. Careful. Like she was afraid the floor might collapse under her. What secret? She asked quietly. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I picked up the final sealed envelope from the table. The one I had been saving. The one Mom told me never to open unless everything fell apart. Well, everything had. I didn't know about this until last night, I said honestly. Vanessa frowned. Then how do you even have it? Because Mom trusted me with it, I replied. That sentence alone made her flinch. I placed the envelope on the table. This was not part of the will, I continued. It was stored separately, legally attached, but hidden until conditions were triggered. Mr. Collins nodded silently, confirming everything. Vanessa swallowed hard. Just open it, she said. Her voice wasn't demanding anymore. It was tired. I opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a single document. And a small photograph. I picked up the document first. And as I read the first line, my breath caught slightly. Vanessa noticed immediately. What is it? She asked sharply. I hesitated. Because what I was about to say wasn't just about inheritance anymore. It was about truth. Family truth. I turned the paper toward her. You should read this yourself. She grabbed it quickly. Her eyes scanned the page. First, everything looked normal. Legal language. Signatures. Then she reached the middle. And stop. No, she whispered. Her hands started shaking again. But this time, It wasn't anger. It was shock. What does this mean? She said, her voice cracking. This can't be right. I stepped closer, watching her reaction carefully. It means, I said quietly, Mom wasn't just dividing property. She was revealing the truth. Vanessa looked up at me, confused and shaken. What truth? I pointed at the document. The reason she made those conditions wasn't just about behavior. Paused, then said it. It was about protection. The room went silent. Even Mr. Collins didn't move. Vanessa looked down again, reading faster now. And then her face completely changed. 'Cause now she saw it. The hidden clause. The attachment. The sealed statement from Mom. Her lips parted slightly. Her voice barely came out. That's not possible. I picked up the photograph from the table and placed it in front of her. It was old, worn at the edges. Picture of Mom holding a baby. Not me. Not Vanessa. Someone else. Vanessa stared at it. Her breathing got uneven. What is that? I swallowed. Because this was the part one had been avoiding thinking about. That, I said quietly, is your older brother. Vanessa froze completely. The color drained from her face. No, she whispered instantly. I don't have a brother. I nodded slowly. You did. Silence exploded in the room. Heavy. Crushing. Vanessa stepped back. That's impossible. Mom never said anything. Never. That's the point, I said softly. She was forced to hide it. Her voice rose slightly. Forced by who? I hesitated again, then said it. By your father. That name hit differently. Harder than anything before. Vanessa shook her head aggressively. No, you're lying. This is some kind of trick. But her hands were shaking uncontrollably now. 'Cause deep down, something didn't feel fake. Felt buried. I placed the document back down. Mom wrote everything here, I said. She lost a child years before we were born. Your brother. Vanessa's eyes filled with confusion and emotion she didn't know how to process. And she kept it secret. Because your father made her promise. Mr. Collins finally spoke quietly. It was part of a legal suppression agreement at the time. Vanessa dropped into the chair again. This time, no fight left in her. So, all this time she whispered. I had a brother. He nodded. And Mom never forgot him. The room felt different now. The fight for the house suddenly felt small. Because this wasn't just about inheritance anymore. It was about a family built on hidden pain. Vanessa looked at the photograph again. This time her expression softened. For the first time in the entire story. She looked human. Not controlling. Not angry. Just broken. I didn't know, she whispered. I believed her. But truth doesn't erase consequences. And I hadn't told her everything yet. 'Cause the biggest secret was still left. And once she heard it, nothing in this family would ever be the same again. When Vanessa was staring at the photograph like it was rewriting her entire life, I knew something had changed permanently. Not just in the house. In her. In all of us. Vanessa didn't speak for a long time. She just kept looking at the picture. At the baby she never knew existed. At the brother she never got to meet. And slowly, her anger was disappearing. Not because she forgave anything. But because she didn't know what she was supposed to feel anymore. I don't understand, she said finally, her voice weak. Why would Mom hide something like this from me? Took a breath. Because she was protecting you, I said. Vanessa laughed softly, but it wasn't real. Protecting me. By lying my entire life. I shook my head. It wasn't that simple. I looked at Mr. Collins. He nodded slightly, allowing me to continue. Your father didn't just ask her to stay silent, I said carefully. He threatened to remove everything from her. The house, support, everything. If she ever spoke about your brother. Vanessa frowned. Why would he do that? I hesitated, then answered honestly. Because your brother wasn't supposed to survive. That sentence landed like a shockwave. Vanessa stood up instantly. What does that mean? I raised my hand slightly. Sit down. But she didn't. I said, what does that mean? She repeated louder. I looked at her, my voice steady but serious. It means there were complications at his birth. Serious ones. Medical negligence was involved. Your father covered it up to protect his reputation. Silence. Vanessa slowly sat back down. Her hands covered her mouth. No, she whispered. No, that's not. But her voice broke. Because part of her already knew this wasn't something I would make up. Mr. Collins finally stepped forward. This is documented, he said quietly. Your mother kept records for legal protection, but she was forced to seal them. Vanessa shook her head slowly. This is too much. He nodded. No. A long silence followed. The house felt heavier now. Like the walls themselves were carrying grief. Vanessa wiped her face quickly, trying to regain control. So what now? She asked weakly. You take everything from me, and I just accept it. I didn't answer immediately, because the truth wasn't finished yet. Mom didn't want revenge, I said finally. Vanessa looked up. She wanted balance. I walked closer to her. And that's why the will wasn't just about property. I placed the final folder on the table. This is the last part. Vanessa stared at it. Her hands didn't move. What is it? She asked quietly. I opened it slowly. Inside was a final letter. Damp. Clean. Legally binding. She left instructions for what happens if the family collapses after her death, I said. Vanessa frowned slightly. Collapses. He nodded. If there's manipulation, conflict, or wrongful eviction attempt. Pause. Then looked directly at her. Everything gets frozen. Vanessa froze. Frozen. He nodded. All assets, oaths, counts, everything. Her voice cracked. So no one gets anything. I shook my head. Whoa. Silence hit the room again. Harder this time. 'Cause now, nobody had won. Vanessa stood up slowly again. Her voice was barely above a whisper. So what was the point of all this? I looked at her for a long moment, then answered honestly. To see who you would become when you thought you had power. That hit her differently. Because this time, there was no defense, no argument, just reflection. Vanessa sat back down again, completely drained. I ruined everything, she whispered. I didn't agree. I didn't disagree. Because this wasn't about winning anymore. It was about consequences. And then, for the first time in the entire story, the house door opened again, and someone walked in who nobody expected. Nobody in that room was prepared for what walked in. Not Vanessa. Not me. Not even Mr. Collins. The air changed instantly. Heavy silence turned into shock. Because standing there wasn't a stranger. It was someone who looked familiar. Too familiar. Vanessa slowly stood up. Her voice cracked the moment she saw him. Who is that? The man stepped inside quietly. Controlled. And then he looked at Vanessa. Not with anger. Not with confusion. But with recognition. I think he said softly, you already know. Vanessa shook her head immediately. No, I don't. But her voice wasn't confident anymore. It was afraid. I looked between them, my heart pounding. 'Cause I already understood. Before anyone said a word. Mr. Collins exhaled slowly. And then spoke. This is the person your mother never stopped protecting. The man stepped forward another step. My name is Daniel. Was. Then he added quietly. I'm your brother. The room collapsed into silence. Not metaphorically. Literally. Like even the air stopped moving. Vanessa stumbled back. No, she whispered again. No, this is impossible. But her eyes, they didn't leave him. Because something about him felt real. Deeply real. Daniel nodded slowly. I know this is a lot. Vanessa shook her head, tears forming again. This is insane. I don't have a brother. I stepped forward slightly. You do, I said softly. She turned to me instantly. You knew about this. I hesitated. That hit harder than anything else so far. Vanessa looked like she had been punched emotionally. Everyone knew except me. She said. Nobody answered immediately. Because the truth was painful. Daniel finally spoke. I didn't come here to take anything. His voice was calm. I came because I found Mom's letters. After she passed. Vanessa looked at him, breathing uneven. She never told me about you. Daniel nodded. She was forced not to. Silence again. But this time different. Not tense. Just heavy sadness. Mr. Collins stepped forward. There is something else you need to understand, he said. Vanessa wiped her face quickly. Or now. He opened the final document. The entire structure of the inheritance was never about ownership. He looked at both of us. It was about reunification. Vanessa frowned. Reunification. I nodded slowly. Mom didn't want us fighting over property. She wanted us to find each other. Daniel looked at Vanessa directly. I didn't even know I had sisters until last year. Vanessa's lips trembled. So all this, the will, the conditions, I finished it for her, was designed to stop greed from destroying the family. Silence again. But this time, Vanessa didn't argue. She just sat down slowly. Like her body couldn't carry the weight anymore. I did all of this, she whispered. For nothing. I shook my head. Oh. She looked up, confused. You did it because you thought you were alone, I said softly. And that's what Mom was trying to fix. Daniel stepped closer. I'm not here to replace anything, he said gently. I'm just here, so you're not alone anymore. That broke something in Vanessa. Not loudly, quietly, slowly. She covered her face and cried. Not the angry kind. Not the frustrated kind. The kind that comes when someone finally realizes what they lost wasn't money. Time. Connection. Family. I looked at both of them. And for the first time since everything started, the house didn't feel like a battlefield. Felt like a beginning. Vanessa finally looked up through tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. Nobody interrupted her. Nobody rushed her. She looked at me. Then at Daniel. I ruined everything. I shook my head. No, I said softly. You just learned the truth too late. Daniel stepped forward and placed the photograph on the table. We still have time to fix what's left, he said. Vanessa slowly nodded. For the first time. She wasn't trying to win. She was just trying to understand. And I realized something in that moment. Mom's real will wasn't about property. It was about healing what was broken long before she was gone. The house didn't belong to anyone anymore. But maybe that was the point. Because some things are more valuable than ownership. Family, truth, and forgiveness. And as I stood there watching them, I finally understood what Mom meant. Sometimes the greatest inheritance is not what you get, but who you become after losing everything.